Hi, everyone. I'm Samantha. I am 14 years old. Whoops, almost 15. Let's not fall down. Too young to be falling around everywhere. And I want to start this off, first of all, by saying thank you all for being here, really. It means a lot to me, and thank you to everyone who's been organizing this conference. Just thank you for the amazing experience. I want to talk about what I wish teachers taught about Bitcoin, money, and the world, because so many things have been misunderstood in the space, and as mentioned, I'm a child. I think I should be talking about what I wish my teachers would teach me. I think I'm the best person to do that, or maybe a teacher. So let's start with a really strong start then, because I'm not going to pretend it isn't true. Our schools are currently training obedience way more than thinking. Yeah, okay, I'm getting a little serious now, not so jokey anymore. But yeah, banks still create money out of thin air and still call it stability. Leaders still currently say, trust us, while our savings get less and less and lose value and our debts only get heavier. And for some reason, this is currently taught as being normal in our schools. I'm saying it out loud because fuck the system. Because before you ever can fix anything, you have to realize that it's broken. Now, to be totally fair, I'm not saying schools don't teach anything about money, because they do. You get short chapters on budgeting, you get a little bit about saving, whatever, but they teach it in the form of a math question, something that matters for a single lesson, when it really doesn't. It matters for your entire lives. What's really important is that you need to figure out how to keep this information in your heads forever. Actually learn it and not remember it, because that's how they're currently teaching things. Please teach us what it actually is instead of just how to earn it. Currently, we're all learning stuff like the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. And the system does this on purpose, instead of teaching us what inflation is. Because if we don't understand inflation, we can't question it. We'll just keep on running on the same treadmill faster and faster, thinking that it's actually going to get us somewhere. But it doesn't. We stay exactly where we started. Schools hand most of us this script. In the past, at the moment, it's always been this way. Stay busy, follow rules, get a job, and most importantly, don't ask questions. We're being taught how to work for money, not how to make money work for us. The actual change starts when, like I said, you first notice this. To break free, you need to ask the uncomfortable questions. You need to actually step up and talk, because if you just hide, nothing will change. People keep telling me, Sam, the system is collapsing. But question to you guys, what if it's not? What if it's just staying the exact same way that it was meant to be? It was built to keep you busy, not to make you free. To make sure that you have just enough comfort to keep playing the game, but not enough clarity to question why you're playing it. The system is not breaking. It was broken from the start. But of course, we also have some good news. You can break the loop. Start by learning what money really is, please. By asking questions that make people uncomfortable. By teaching your friends, your kids, your students. It doesn't matter. You are never too old to learn, and you are never too late to break free. Because every time somebody does wake up, it gets weaker and weaker, until eventually it will hopefully break completely. Schools train obedience way more than actual thinking. Sit still. Memorize this. But we don't need people that just follow. We need people who question things. And Bitcoin is built on that exact idea. Don't trust, verify. And once you start verifying, whether it's money, whether it's news, it doesn't matter. You start taking back power. And anyone can do it. It can be a 9-year-old. It can be a 20-year-old. Heck, you could be 16. You could still be doing this. You just need the courage to ask why. If schools won't teach that kind of freedom, please start teaching it to each other. The truth is, the world has changed, and schools barely have. I'm still using textbooks that are older than the internet, while jobs are going digital, and everything's becoming automatic. And inflation, obviously, is eating paychecks. Schools tell me, oh yeah, don't worry, we are preparing you for the real world, but the real world looks nothing like school anymore. So we shouldn't wait for governments to fix it. We can teach ourselves, whether it's in a local community or online. Preparing for life is way more than preparing to apply for a job. And that's a harsh reality that a lot of schools won't face yet. We've all heard this one, right? Why? Oh, because we said so. That's not teaching. That is blatantly authority in a costume. It kills children's curiosity before it even has a chance to start. When you tell a kid to stop asking why, you tell them to stop thinking for themselves. But if you actually encourage the question and invite the question, that's when real learning can happen. Imagine if we flip this. Imagine if every time a kid asked their teacher, oh, why? They said, great question. Let's explore this together. That's exactly how Bitcoin works. It doesn't punish questions, it depends on them. Why can't I see where my money goes? Why can't money be fair? Why should I trust a central bank? The world we should want should start with asking why and never take, oh, because we said so, for an answer. To make this incredibly clear, though, before I go anywhere further, I want to say this is not about blaming teachers. So please, do not blame them. Most of them are incredibly passionate people that are overworked and completely underpaid. Their wages get smaller and smaller and fall behind inflation, and their classes just get bigger and bigger, and their freedom shrinks too. They're trapped inside the system too. Real change means that we have to work together with them, give them the freedom to experiment, to verify truth, and to teach the values, and not just the curriculum that they're told to teach. Because unfortunately, this is the part that most of us remember from school. Staring out of the window, wondering why any of it all mattered. Students aren't lazy, they're disconnected. When someone doesn't understand why something matters, they'll shut down because why does it matter? Why should they even try? Bitcoin teaches responsibility, honesty, and long-term thinking, a lot more than school. Bitcoin can invite kids and anyone to think about these simple things and ask these simple things, because by using Bitcoin, you subconsciously have to. So let's talk about what money really is first. Money isn't just numbers or coins or, any of that. It's three things: time, energy, and trust. You trade your time and your energy every day to earn money, and you trust that it will still hold value tomorrow. The problem, of course, is when this trust gets abused. Governments can print money endlessly, but your energy and your time is finite. When money loses value, what you're really losing is the value of your life's work, and that's why proper money matters. But money didn't start broken. Whoops. But money didn't start broken. It just got weaker every time we made it more convenient. First, we got gold. Sure, it was scarce, but that was really hard to transport. Then we got paper notes that were backed by gold, but then eventually the government decided, you know what, let's just remove the backing completely. No one's even focusing on that anymore. And that's how we got fiat. Paper just backed by promises instead of actual proof. Every step that made money faster made it easier to abuse. Bitcoin exists because it does so much more than this, and it combines the best parts. We got the scarcity from gold, the portability from paper, but it's verified by math instead of just trust. Because first we got gold, then paper, and after paper, just promises. Fiat money only works if you trust governments and central banks to manage it responsibly. Trust that they won't print too much. But we've seen what happens when this trust breaks. We've seen it in Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Lebanon, and in smaller ways, really, we've seen it everywhere. People work harder, but their savings buy less and less, and money stops being verifiable. When money stops being verifiable, faith replaces proof, and that's when the systems start failing. This right here is all the proof that we need. Instead of promises, instead of trust, it's math. Bitcoin supply is limited forever. 21 million coins. No printing, and no rule changing halfway between a game. Every 4 years, issuance halves until it stops completely. Fiat may run on trust, but Bitcoin runs on exactly this math. The power to change this doesn't live in banks or in governments. It lives in all of you. Every time you explain inflation, help someone set up a wallet, or show someone, it doesn't matter if they're a kid or an adult, how Bitcoin works, you will weaken control. The real revolution really isn't the technology, it's understanding. Bitcoin is more than a currency. It's a classroom. It can teach honesty, patience, and personal responsibility. This talk is what I wish teachers taught about Bitcoin, money, and the world, so here it is. In 2009, as most of us I think know, Satoshi Nakamoto released an open source experiment. No company, no CEO, just code. The goal was very, very simple. Can humans agree on truth without having to rely on authority? In my eyes, that question should obsess every teacher, because that's what education should be. Bitcoin teaches verification, scarcity, and rules without rulers. The math is already marking the homework without the teacher having to. When you send Bitcoin, you don't ask for permission. Your transaction goes to thousands of nodes worldwide. Each one of them will independently check the math. No bank clerk, no government portal, and no appeal. Bitcoin strips all of that bullshit out of the system. It doesn't care who you are. It will ask you one question. Does it work? That's exactly what equality is, and that's what teachers should teach. Everything that Bitcoin does comes down to these 5 properties. It's limited. There's 21 million, which is the absolute scarcity. It's transparent. Every transaction is public and verifiable. It's borderless. The value moves globally, 24/7, without needing permission. It's immutable. You can't reverse it, and you can't censor it. And of course, it's decentralized. There's no rulers, but there's rules agreed upon. Put together, this is the first monetary system that doesn't depend on authority. No secrets, no printing, no masters. Now that we've covered Bitcoin's properties, let's talk about what they actually teach. They teach accountability. In Bitcoin, your wallet is controlled by your cryptographic keys. If you hold the private key, you have control. There's no recovery email, there's no help desk. You lose the keys, you lose the coins. That's just how it is. We have digital sovereignty. When you hold your keys, you don't rely on banks or custodians. You interact directly with the network. We have critical thinking. Don't trust, verify really isn't just Bitcoin's slogan. It's exactly how the system works. Every node does check independently if it works or if it doesn't. Fourth, we have permissionless innovation. Bitcoin is open source. Anyone can build on it. The question here isn't who are you, it's does it work? And finally, finality. Your mistakes aren't reversible, and you learn to slow down, to double check, and to think long term. Put together, Bitcoin can teach you so much. It can teach you to own your own actions, to understand the systems that you depend on, to verify everything, to respect cost and consequence. And it doesn't lecture you, it forces you to learn while using it. When I was younger, I heard about poor countries. Like poverty was permanent, but nobody really explained why economies collapse. Schools skip that important part. They'll talk about resources, but not about corruption and not about hyperinflation money printing. Because hyperinflation isn't bad luck. It's what happens when the power to create money gets abused. Take Zimbabwe. In the 2000s, the government destroyed the exports and tried to fix it by printing more. By 2008, the prices completely doubled every day, and life savings evaporated completely. The currency became so worthless that it was used by toys as children. And Venezuela copied the exact same pattern. Instead of cutting their spending, more money was printed, inflation exploded, and people were paid twice a day just to outrun the inflation and be able to afford things. And in Lebanon too, the currency lost most of its values in just a few years. Banks will freeze the withdrawals, and people have to learn the hard way that the money is never really theirs. The pattern really always follows the same. Overspend, print, devalue, lose trust, and reset. Schools will call this economic instability, but I'd call it theft through dilution, because inflation isn't a number. It's a transfer of wealth from the workers to those closest to the printer. Bitcoin might not fix corruption, but it can remove its favorite weapon, unlimited printing. Every broken system starts the same way. People believe that the rules don't apply to them, but Bitcoin doesn't allow that. There's no manager to blame, no bank clerk to fix your mistakes. You hold the keys, you make the decisions, you live with the outcome. Once you feel what sovereignty actually means, full responsibility, you'll stop wanting someone to run your life. Bitcoin is a system that teaches people to grow up. So when I say teach Bitcoin, I don't mean convince people to buy it. I mean teach what it represents. Hope without understanding will fade fast, but hope backed by knowledge won't. Teaching Bitcoin teaches people that they don't need permission to own their own future. Their work, their savings, and their ideas. It belongs to them, not a system. And that's why teaching Bitcoin matters, because it teaches something that can't be printed away. What if the classrooms actually, instead of being designed to produce employees, was designed to produce explorers? What if instead of memorizing rules, students were taught how to make rules? Good rules. Rules that you can verify. We spend years teaching kids to ask for permission, to sit still, to wait, to obey, and then people wonder why adults freeze in the face of inflation or corruption. Teach freedom instead of fear, please, because fear will create followers, but freedom can create builders. Everything that is missing from school is one critical big thing: critical thinking. Not memorizing, not repeating, actually thinking for yourself. Teach people how to question what they're told, to verify what they see, and protect what's theirs. Once people learn how to think critically, they will stop being easy to manipulate. That's what education should do. Teach how to think, not what to think. So if you ask me, the best way to teach truth is to teach Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin is truth, written in code, verified by everyone, but owned by no one. Teach consensus and students will understand cooperation better than in any civics class. Teach scarcity and no one will ever fall for print more again. Teach verification and they will learn what real evidence looks like. Please teach Bitcoin to teach truth. Education is supposed to lead to opportunity, not to obligations. Somewhere along the way, though, it turned into a business. Curiosity got traded for compliance, and freedom for debt. We tell students, get educated, you'll be free, and then we chain them to a system that forces you to obey and to oblige. That's not education. Real education should set minds free. So, everything I've talked about today really leads here. We don't need permission to change the world. We don't need a government. We don't need a cooperation or an authority figure. Change starts with understanding. Bitcoin proves that ordinary people can build systems stronger than failing institutions. Every person who learns how money works becomes harder to control. So you don't need a title. You don't need a degree. You just need to understand the system better than the people abusing it. Because knowledge is the one thing that they cannot print. Fix the money, fix the world. Thank you very much.
When last did you see a 14-year-old talk about money like that and about Bitcoin? Great, thank you very much. Awesome. Do you guys have any questions? We've got a little bit of time left.
Don't you need the mic?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Samantha. Brilliant talk. I took a picture of your dad and yourself and sent it to my kids and said, when will my daughters join me at a conference? And one has put their hand up, so they'll be coming next time. Thanks for that. Question. Have you tried to, or have you spoken about this to teachers at school? You've spoken about the whole education system. If so, what has the response been?
I've tried at multiple schools. So the first school that I mentioned it to completely basically ignored it. They said, yeah, okay, great, this is your thing, you can do this at home, but not in our system. They told me I could maybe hold an assembly and talk to my peers about it if I wanted to. And then they realized what I was actually going to tell them. They said, fuck no, you can't do this. You can't do this to us. So I completely gave up on that school. After I changed schools to a public school, I honestly didn't even try because even when I wanted to go to a conference there, they said, yeah, you can't do that. Missing a few days of school is way more important than going to a conference and speaking on stage. Not like that's a life skill that you'll ever need. And currently, I'm at an online school. I've talked to some of my teachers about Bitcoin just because they mentioned it, and let's just say they have the wrong idea, so I had to correct that real quick in front of everyone, because I'm a smartass like that. I got it from my dad. And yeah, I hope that answers your question.
So building on that, have you thought about going around the teachers, since they're a little bit behind, and gathering students that might want to hear what you have to say and talking to them directly?
I've tried. Actually, at my first school, I set up a group of children around my age, I was 11 back then, so they were like 11-year-olds. I tried explaining it to them. Let's just say some kids are more mature than others. Some were wobbling around, and it was really hard to try and explain anything to them. But no hate towards them. We're all just kids. I'm still a kid. Doesn't matter my age. I'm still a kid at heart. And yeah, I did try to teach a little to them. I did manage to get a bit through. In one of my first talks, I actually interviewed all my peers, and not all, but a lot of my peers, and asked them what they already know about Bitcoin, what they learned from Bitcoin from me. And let's just say I'm disappointed with some of their listening skills. But also to note on that, whenever someone like you tells me that they show me to their kids, it warms my heart, really. I love teaching, especially children, because I know that we'll be the next generation. And as a kid myself, I know that children are way more likely to listen to kids their age than adults. When my dad first talked about Bitcoin, I never really thought of it as his thing, but I've heard from so many others like, oh yeah, it's my dad's thing, you know, I don't want to get involved in his stuff. So I think like having kids in the community, not just me, like bringing more kids into this community can really help grow everything for the future.
Bitcoin's for the kids.